So I think starting the year, my first day was July of 2023, and really my priority at that time was trying to figure out what my day-to-day routine was and who the personnel was and what our teams were looking like, and really trying to get my feet underneath me. My goal was to kind of keep the ship moving. Yeah, I knew we were going to be talented. I think, like so many sports, football in particular is one where talent is really important, but how that talent kind of forms together and plays together really dictated what this season was all about. I think from a talent standpoint, we were probably one of the most talented teams we've ever had here. But to see our team blend, especially after losing game one at Sacred Heart Cathedral, really on two trick plays, to see how the team responded to that, came together, rallied off a bunch of really great wins, highlighted by some big wins, of course, against our rivals, MA, under the lights, beating, I believe, Half Moon Bay, and then coming back and winning against Menlo, which we had lost last year, was a big one to catapult us into the Division I playoffs. When people ask me even today about sports experience, student athletes who love each other, who love what they do, who really enjoy the sport they're playing and compete to the highest extent, I think that that's really our volleyball program to a T. From top down with the coaching staff, really providing an atmosphere for those girls to compete at the highest level. But anybody who's been out to watch those girls play can see the enthusiasm and love they have for one another. And so I think really from the three seniors who we had were incredible of setting the tone and the culture with really a young team, and then really grooming those juniors, sophomores, and a handful of freshmen to kind of create a culture to where they've passed the baton to this next junior class to have as good of, if not a better season next year, with 11 seniors returning is pretty exciting. I knew that we were going to be young with a couple of freshmen at the top of the singles ladder. I knew we were going to have a good mix of experience and youth. So again, I think similar to football, I think my expectation was high, but really it was a question of how a team of such a wide variety of grades was going to blend together, mesh. And I believe they ended up with 9 league wins, which was the most we've had since I can remember, certainly in the last 5 years. So top to bottom, it was a really successful season and some really bright years ahead for SHP girls tennis. With cross country, I think this has been a little bit of a transition point to the culture of the program in terms of, I think for previous years, a lot of people showed up to cross country just for the health benefits or to run, to be a part of an activity. And I think what Coach Beck has done to really provide it as a competitive environment for our student athletes to challenge themselves. Julia Sodaberry's committed to Brown. And then we've got a really talented this year senior class with JP Kilmon, and then next year kind of handing the baton to runners like Nick Karros and Arjun Singh. I think for both the boys and girls programs, it's the bar is so high. I know the girls team was another younger of our teams who ended up kind of gelling at the right time towards playoff season and then CCS, and ultimately I believe they ended the season as Max Prep's 7th ranked team in the country, going up against teams like Miramonte and Leland and SoCal, who are well-known powerhouses. And our girls, every time they got in the pool, they showed the grit and tenacity despite being kind of outnumbered. We didn't have the Stanford recruits that I know Miramonte and Leland had, but every game our girls fought tooth and nail and had an incredible season in CCS and NorCal's. The boys ended up winning another WCAL regular season, WCAL tournament, CCS tournament, and NorCal championship. So they swept the slate yet again, and it's yet another testament. I always think about our water polo program, what they do in the pool, but really what stands out to me is what they do in the classroom and how they conduct themselves within the community. I very rarely do I ever have issues with them. The imprint they have on the rest of the community and how they treat one another, treat their professors, treat the department is I think what stands out the most. Yeah, I think for girls golf, and talking with Coach Dowdy in the preseason, girls golf, our numbers have been hurting. So I think it was really important this year to kind of get back to making it a great experience and competing and getting better and developing and setting kind of the tone for the next class. I know we've got a really, really strong incoming class of freshman girls into the golf program. We're going to get back into that CCS conversation again next year. Yeah, I wouldn't say I was surprised. I think what's so fascinating about the boys' season was the manner in which they used a different philosophy. They went about winning in a different way. So while the results were the exact same, I think the teams, the personnel was totally different. The way that they didn't have the marquee Division I stars like we did 2 years ago or last year with Emmer and Aiden. We had to rely on a number of different players to see Sam Norris develop into not only the leader, but the player that he ultimately became, I think was huge for their success. But really it became everybody contributing, a really deep bench, a good mix of young talent. We have quite a few juniors who played significant minutes coming back. So I think Sam in particular, and a lot of those seniors provided really a solid foundation for those juniors to build upon the success they had this year. Yeah, the future's looking bright. We'd been down in terms of numbers for quite a few years, so I think being able to see that bounce back over the last year or two has been great. It's also really helped us in terms of developing our freshmen and sophomores at the JV level. Fia Taylor is a senior, and Bridget Selna, and then having Skylar Schramm and Kate Barron as freshmen impact the team at the varsity level the way they did. I know that Coach Bell and his staff are really excited for the years to come. It was a pretty historic and remarkable year for our boys senior team. I think the job that Coach Del Rio and Coach G did was phenomenal. It's one thing to have so many talented returning seniors coming into the mix, and another thing to be able to kind of manage playing time, making sure that everybody has a good experience, but ultimately competing at the highest level with the nation's best programs and being competitive with those programs kind of shows the echelon of where our boys soccer program currently is. And I think with such a senior dominant class, having juniors and sophomores and even a couple freshmen be on that team to witness and experience what that was like will be super impactful for the team moving forward. Really a great season for the girls. They started pretty slow. Coach Ramiro's design from the beginning was challenge the team early and hope that when you play the best, it helps you develop and elevate your game to where by the end of the year, we lost in a 1-goal heartbreaker, I believe, to Presentation in the CCS championships. And our girls at that time, they were playing the best they had all year. And I think with the junior class we have coming back, seeing the success that we had there, I fully expect us to make another run at a Division II or even Division I or Open Division title next year. I would say the job Coach McMillan's done has been pretty astounding considering where we were when he took over last year. Our numbers were way down. We were competitive, but not on the scale that I think Sacred Heart Baseball is accustomed to. So what he's done within his, I guess, year and a half here on campus has been pretty transformational. We're currently sitting, I believe, at 18-6 and 1 overall and 11-1 in league. So with a win in one of these next 2 games, we'll clinch the PAL Ocean Division outright, which is a huge achievement for that program. One of our sophomore starting pitchers, Devin Saltzgaber, was just named CCS Pitcher of the Year, which is pretty remarkable. And needless to say, the future is pretty bright. Coach Dowdy was on that. He said it was Logan's performance was the single best performance he'd ever seen, obviously, as a new program record. But I think what Logan has done and meshed with some of our sophomores and freshmen. I think the success of our golf program is pretty evident within the numbers that we have of kids who are trying out now and want to play golf. And then to piggyback that with the success that we've had in beating, I believe we finished second in the league this year, just behind Crystal Springs. A freshman, sophomore, and junior heavy roster combined with our senior leadership has made for a great season. The swim team is arguably one of our most consistent and historic programs we have here on campus. I think the boys and girls won the WBAL again this year, and Coach Frank's first year as the swim coach, taking over for Coach Kamo, who's kind of a legendary swim coach here. So I know Coach Frank had big shoes to fill, and I think he did that. Both the girls and boys, again, won the WBAL championship, which I believe is for roughly the 13th or 14th consecutive year, which is pretty incredible. With 67 members of the swim team, the future is definitely bright. I think when I met with the boys tennis team earlier in the year, I challenged them at the very beginning of the year that if you want to be taken seriously as a program, then you have to take your business seriously and act accordingly. And I told them this right before their CCS match the other day, that they held up their end of the bargain and more. When you consider that over the past 3 years of the boys tennis program, that we didn't combine to win 17 matches and we won 17 matches this year, is pretty remarkable. With our younger players, we had 2 freshmen playing at the top of the singles ladder, mixed in with a bunch of upperclassmen in singles and doubles. It really made for an incredible experience. As a department, we're in a tough spot, losing our head track and field coach at the last minute. My department really scrambled to find highly qualified coaches, and I think we were able to do that. And the people we brought in 7 coaches, all with different expertise, who have been gelled together. It was 7 coaches who had never worked together. And so as much as I would have loved to see us hit the ground running and the coaches being able to mesh well, there was an orientation and onboarding period for them too, to get to know each other, to get to know the kids. The job that Coach Beck has done to oversee all of it has been remarkable. But I do think once those coaching pieces were into place and we were able to support the student athletes that we had to really take their talents to the next level, I think that is the result that we are seeing now. The non-league schedule was by far and away the hardest we've ever had here in the lacrosse program, but probably amongst the hardest of anyone in the country. I think he scheduled 5 non-league, out-of-league teams who are all ranked in the top 25 in the country. Certainly the ones in California were amongst the top-ranked teams in California. I think he knew that we were going to be experienced in goal and on defense, but losing a player like Max Sloat, I think, left a lot of questions unanswered in terms of how we were going to piece together our offense. And Coach Ritelli knew, and Coach Peterson, and again, a bunch of new coaches that we have on staff, they knew that once we gelled offensively, that we were going to click and really start to play some of the best lacrosse we've ever played here. And I think that's where we are right now. We are playing our best lacrosse at the right time as we enter CCS. Yeah, it's been a historic season for our girls lacrosse program. And the season culminated in a win at SI. In overtime. Iris O'Connor, a senior leader in this program for 4 years, has dedicated herself so much to our team and the girls. And to see her in a 9-9 overtime game score the golden goal was incredible, against, I believe at that time, the 3rd-ranked team in the country. And to have that momentum now coming into CCS, where if we play well, will likely be another showdown against SI. It will be really a fun match to watch. It's hard to kind of put in an apples to apples comparison. I've been associated with Sacred Heart Athletics pretty much my whole life. And I think from top to bottom, what this class has done, what this sports season has done on a full scale, I don't know that it will ever be replicated. I certainly hope it is. But when you consider that 20 of our 21 sports programs qualified for CCS, I believe over half of our 21 teams, I think 12 of our teams were named CCS Scholastic teams, which kind of shows what we're accomplishing not only on the field or in the pool or in the gym or on the court, but also in the classroom. I'm not sure that there's another athletic department in the country who's getting it done kind of on both ends, not only as an athletic director, but as an alumni who takes being a Gator very seriously. And I think on behalf of all alumni, we're very proud of everything that this class has accomplished and very grateful.